Hey guys, welcome into another episode of the Machine Heads interview series brought to you by Compact Equipment Magazine and CompactEquip.com. I'm your host, Wayne Grayson. On today's episode, we're pleased to welcome in Nathan Ryan of Manitou, North America. Manitou, of course, continuing to work on upping their market share here in the U.S. and the North American market kind of overall. Of course, several years ago, they bought the Gehl and Mustang brands, and since then, they've transitioned out of that Mustang brand, turning that into a new dual brand strategy between the Gehl and Manitou lines of equipment. And so we talked to Nathan about that dual brand strategy and the advantages of having that here in North America. But we also talk about some of the latest new compact loaders from Manitou and Gehl, specifically the V-Series skid steers and the VT Series compact track loaders. There's lots of new advancements and this is their first kind of like white sheet redesign that Manitou has had here in the compact loader segment really in the last like 15 years or so. So there's a lot to address there on these new medium frame loaders. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into this interview with Nathan Ryan of Manitou North America.
Hey Wayne, good afternoon. Thanks for having us. I'm the Global Product Manager for skid loaders, compact track loaders, and excavators for Manitou Group, covering both the Manitou and the Gehl brand. So I'm really happy and excited to be here today to tell you more about some of our new products.
Yeah, so look, we'll jump right in here. To start off, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the renewed investment into the North American market, and obviously some of the changes and kind of the way that the Manitou brand is kind of growing here in North America specifically. Of note. First of all was the expansion of the U.S. production facilities in Madison, South Dakota, and then the new telehandler range being built in South Dakota, and then not most recently, but almost as recently, the new V-Series and VT Series skid steers and compact track loaders that coincided with the 50th anniversary of the company starting construction of its skid steers in this part of the world. So yeah, a lot of really exciting stuff happening inside the company. Tell us a little bit about what that's been like to be inside the company as all these things are kind of coinciding and the momentum within Manitou's North American business, and what the company is kind of like hoping to accomplish as it looks forward to the future in the context of the rest of this market.
More than happy to. Gehl Company has a extensive history, over 150 years in North America, building quality equipment, primarily focused originally in the mid-90s on the ag equipment, and then later in the later 90s and early 2000s focusing on construction equipment. Around 2008, Manitou purchased the Gehl Company pretty much outright and took over the responsibilities for sales, distribution, and manufacturing. Manitou themselves may be a relatively new brand to North America, but a lot of your listeners may not know Manitou is one of the premier brands globally, from telescopic handlers to ag material handling. In fact, I believe 1 in every 4 telehandlers that's sold globally is a Manitou telehandler. They have an extensive reputation within the agriculture industry, which closely aligns with Gehl's past as well. Manitou Group as an organization has recognized that the North American market, while being a mature market, is still primed for some growth over the next decade or so. So it's a market that we're really trying to focus on. As far as the brand split, Gehl is still primarily aligned with agriculture. That's not to say that you don't find our telehandlers and some of the national account rental fleets, as well as some of our skid loaders and compact track loaders or excavators on construction job sites. But primarily the Gehl brand was historically agriculture. Manitou as well was historically agriculture. However, they have diversified their portfolio pretty extensively into aerial work platforms, industrial forklifts, off-road forklifts, rotational telehandlers, things that you would not normally find in an agricultural setting. And that's one of the things that we're trying to leverage as a group to bring some of those Manitou product categories to our dealers here to give them a better arsenal to attack the entire market space.
Absolutely. And so, I mean, with this renewed kind of focus here, with the two brand kind of strategy, Manitou is definitely building upon, as you mentioned, that really rich legacy of Gehl equipment. But then there's also that really global foundation that the Manitou brand already has, and so you're kind of using the strengths of both of those brands to kind of offer something unique in the market. Could you kind of talk a little bit about, I guess, like the customers, for both of these brands, the new ones that you're finding with the Manitou brand, and then of course the existing customers of the Gehl brand. What their kind of favorite aspects of these of these two brands are, and kind of what they kind of symbolize, I guess, in their minds. Like, what does the Gehl brand mean to its customers, and conversely, the Manitou brand to its customers?
The Gehl brand, and I'm not going to say it's that different from the Manitou brand as far as some of these attributes, but Gehl has become the Works Like You brand. It's known for reliability. It's going to last. You'll see machines in the field that are 15 years old, still being used on farms, on job sites. They're very reliable, robust machines that hold their retention value and are still, you're able to sell them and make some money back at the time of the end of life for your product or your application. Manitou brand, being new, doesn't have that history within North America. It does outside of North America and globally, but within North America, it's still relatively unknown, which is why we're really pushing. All of our global key accounts are now using the Manitou brand because we want to promote. It's the same level of quality, if not better, as our Gehl brand. They're reliable machines. The product portfolio is extensive. As I mentioned before, you're talking aerial work platforms, serial work platforms, or scissors work platforms, your compact equipment, your telescopic handlers. There's just a ton of tools, and actually within our dealer network, that's kind of motivated several of our dealers to try and engage more the Manitou brand to get access to some of that portfolio and some of those product categories that aren't available under the Gehl brands. As a strategic priority for the company, we want to maintain our Gehl dealers and Gehl customers. And so we will fully support them with all of the products that we build here in North America and help them to align with what their customers are expecting. Maybe their customers are more narrow focused than what the Manitou customers are, so they're not interested in work platforms, or they're not interested in heavy duty telescopic handlers for changing mining truck cylinders, right? It's a different customer base, different brand, so we were able to target a lot of the different areas of the market with the two different brands.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, that makes perfect sense. And kind of like whenever you think about what you're trying to build here in North America with that Manitou brand, I mean, do you feel kind of like the Gehl? It seems like you guys have identified kind of like two different customer sets or two different kind of maybe even purposes between these two brands, and so I feel like the Gehl brand is kind of like on one path, and it's firmly kind of on that path. But with Manitou, you guys have an opportunity kind of because this is a kind of newer brand to the North American market. You guys have an opportunity to kind of create something completely different. What is really the strategy there? You mentioned a wider portfolio, but is it a premium kind of compact and aerial brand? Kind of tell us a little bit of how you guys are envisioning kind of building this brand in the North American market, or is it just kind of using the kind of the global brand as inspiration and trying to?
So I mean, there's two stages. Kind of look at the way we look at it anyways. Geographically, we're able to attack more areas with non-competing dealers to have a set of Manitou dealers as well as a set of Gehl dealers. They can both serve all of the customers. We get better access geographically to the entire continent of North America. Then from a second level, you just have dealers that are more apt to dealing with construction and demolition or mining or rental applications, where they have use for some of the additional portfolio that Manitou can bring to the table. And so not only does it give us a geographical advantage, but it also gives us a product category advantage to have Manitou as our parent company and provide us with all of these great customer solutions.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that makes sense. In terms of focusing on the machines themselves now, you guys have a lot to talk about with these two machines beyond just kind of like the work that you guys are doing to kind of expand this brand further into kind of the market here in North America. But we mentioned earlier the new V-Series skid steers and VT Series CTLs. Now, obviously, these machines represent complete redesigns, but there are really kind of 5 key areas of focus that I'd really like for you to kind of take us through with these machines. And then the other kind of notable thing here, too, is that because these are skid steers and compact track loaders, they will be available under both the Gehl badge and the Manitou badge. Take us through these 5 key areas of focus, though, with the machines, and then we'll talk a little bit about kind of like that two-brand strategy as it applies to the loaders.
Sure, Wayne. I am really happy to dive into that. If I can, just backstep for a moment, give you a little background behind the history. So we've had skid steers, since the 80s, 1980s. With all of the tier changes that came about 2010 to 2015-ish with flex credits, a lot of our focus became taking our existing machines and making them EPA compliant to keep going forward. So while we may have introduced new models in 2009, 2011, 2013, a lot of them were just emissions regulations updates. Maybe we added in a little bit of new technology. So this was the company's first really white paper, ground-up design since probably about 2009 for our medium frame skid loaders and compact track loaders in general. So the 5 areas that we focused on, we took a look at our competitors. We went out and we conducted extensive surveys with our dealer network as well as end-use customers, and we came back with 5 primary areas to focus on. Those 5 primary areas are serviceability, safety improvements, simplification for the operator comfort improvements, and then productivity improvements. So if I start in reverse order there, the productivity improvements. At Manitou Group, we have seen a ton of success with our 1650 RT, radial, kind of in between small frame and medium frame track loader. Everyone that drives it thinks it's the best driving machine that they've ever driven, and so we based our new machines on that type of a platform, which means that it's going to be a more nimble machine. They're lighter weight. We changed the weight distribution so you can maintain the lift capacity while also maintaining a low weight. They're also going to have faster cycle times as well as faster ground times. All of them kind of mimic that 1650 RT, which has had such a great reception from our customer base. So all of the new models focus on that, as well as they have higher breakout forces and almost class-leading auxiliary hydraulic power in almost every machine category. Then we look at serviceability. As we know, these are compact machines. They're full of components. It's hard to even get your hand into certain areas. So our machines strove to make these the most serviceable machines in the market. And I think arguably they are. If you would look at the cab design rotates up 62 degrees with the cab or the lift arms in the up or the down position. The cooler above the engine rotates up 28 degrees, giving you complete access to the top and sides of the engine. You have your rear door that swings out. There is a panel on the cooler above the engine that is removable if you need to wash out that cooler. And if there's anything you can't really access from the front, sides, or back, there are 3 individual small access panels underneath the machine that can be easily installed or removed by one person. If we move on, then we look at simplicity. So we've always had a extensive line of skid steers and compact track loaders. However, notably, Manitou and Gehl's entrance into the compact track loader market was a lot later than the skid loader market. So skid loaders, we were present in the 90s, late 80s. Compact track loader didn't actually produce our own machines until around 2010. And we raced to the market and we developed some very good track loader. They're called a dedicated chassis track loaders. So I think us and Takeuchi are probably the only two people that actually do welded on pontoon undercarriages. Dedicated track loaders. However, what this meant for our dealer network is there was some inconsistency in the controls, the displays, the way the machines functioned when you jumped from a skid steer into a track loader. So one of the motivations for this project was to create a more homologous interface for our dealers, so they're not looking for buttons when they're trying to show a machine to a customer. And so we really focused on creating a simple operator interface, human-machine interface for our operators and for our dealers. Additionally, you'll see some new feature improvements, keyless start, 7-inch color display, and some options within the display for machine customization. So we really tried to make it the most simple operator experience for either operators or our dealer network. Safety, being the fourth point that we'll talk about, really just, we're always looking to improve safety, as well as your automotive manufacturers and any OEM is trying to improve safety. Some of the things that are of notable mention on our new medium frame loaders are we lowered the egress to get in and out of the cab 3 inches to make it less of a trip point. We did things like add a egress lighting. When you exit the cab, the work lights will stay on for 30 seconds. We have 23% better visibility out of our cab. The cab is a larger cab. We'll get to that next. We have additional tie-downs, making it easier to access the tie-downs from the side of a trailer, making sure that machine is secure before you move it from job site to job site. And then finally, we added a machine lockout switch. So historically, we've always had a parking brake, which once released allowed both machine movement and work group maneuverability. Now we've added a machine lockout button that gives you the option to keep the work group locked, but unlock your parking brake so you can drive without worrying about inadvertent movement of the lift arm or the bucket. And finally, to come back on the comfort. The cab is 23% bigger. Another major improvement on the cab is it's a one-piece design. That means the footwell is welded to the upper shell, so it's all one piece, maintains your pressure, it keeps out dust, it keeps out heat, it keeps out noise. In fact, one of the things we discovered during our development process was we implemented new side windows with tighter tolerances, again, trying to keep out anything you don't want in the cab. We opened to the rear at the initial stages of the project. We found out that let a lot of heat and noise recirculate from the engine area. So now we have front opening side windows with a lot tighter tolerances, just to maintain a nice operator environment for our users. Other things we did within the cab, we have our patented pilot joysticks for operations. They are patented in that they move with the seat, just like all of your EH manufacturers, but from a corporate standpoint, every bit of voice of customer research we have done still points to operators preferring pilot controls. So we're maintaining the pilot controls, but we're giving in the benefits that the EH users also enjoy by allowing those operator controls to move with the seat. We talked about a big 23% bigger cab. I don't have a figure for it, but the foot area is also bigger on that cab. And in the footwell, you will find an interesting patent pending feature that is called for lack of a better word, a drain. If your machine is returned to you with mud and stone scattered around the foot area, you pull out a plastic plug and everything can be washed with a simple garden hose all the way through the bottom of the machine. There's a tube that runs the length or the height of the undercarriage of the machine. We'll drop all of that dirt and stone out on your shop floor or your parking lot, depending on where you're cleaning it out. I think we're going to talk a little bit more about the cab later, so I'll save some of the more juicy morsels for that.
Yeah, I mean, and actually, let's we'll go a little bit more in depth with the cab right now, and specifically that improved visibility. Let's start there. with kind of like the overall construction of the cab. You mentioned that you guys have moved to a one-piece design, and we'll definitely talk about in terms of the ease of serviceability and everything like that with that in a second. But first and foremost, how did you guys get to this? 23% larger cab, but also 20% better visibility. What were some of the changes to the construction of the cab that you guys made to achieve that?
Well, one of the major changes for at least our previous customers to accept, historically, Gehl and Manitou have been the only OEM manufacturer with a standard FOPS Level 2 falling object protective system. That's a falling object protective system, a 500-pound steel cylinder versus a 100-pound steel ball, both dropped from about the same height above the machine. Everyone else is FOPS Level 1. We've always been FOPS Level 2. However, we didn't, in talking with some of the customers that actually use that functionality, your mulchers, your demolition, your ship trimming people, they're looking for more than just roof protection. They were looking for light protection, antenna protection, beacon protection. And so we've went with FOPS Level 1 as standard. It allowed us to go to a little bit thinner material and do some manipulations to the rooftop, which I'll get into in just a sec. But also, that gave us the opportunity to redesign a FOPS Level 2 bracket that can be added to any machine. It provides work light protection, four-way flasher protection, beacon protection, antenna protection. It's really going to meet those customers' needs, the guys that are in demolition and in ship trimming and in mulching. So I talked about the manipulation of the steel and the benefits of going to a thinner steel roof. One of the things that you'll notice on our machines, hopefully you can pop up some pictures when this goes live, but in between the work lights in the front, you will notice that the roof is lower than the work lights. That's because we have a patent pending feature on this cab. It's called a forward sloping roof. The middle section of the front of the roof slopes forward. Because on your traditional skid steer compact track loaders, in other words, our competition or our previous models, the cross section that you see between your work lights when you're sitting in the operator's seat is going to be about a 2 to 3 inch tall blind spot when you're dumping into trucks. With the forward sloping roof, we maintain where that door stops, but we bring that duckbill, if for lack of a better word, of the cab down so that you only have about 1.25 inches of a blind spot running across the top of your cab when you're dumping into trucks. That's a patented pendant feature on our new cabs. We also feature our fold-up door. It's been widely popular on the track loaders for years, and we have been getting requests for at least 7-8 years to get it on our skid loaders. It is now an option on these. Our fold-up door, just so that everyone knows, is a 2-piece door. It has a crease in the middle. When you raise it, it does not go above your head. You do not have to lean back to get out of the way. It will never hit you. You do not have glass above your head. In fact, the material is a polycarbonate material, so it is very lightweight. It is robust and impact and scratch resistant. What the lower weight will do for you, if you're familiar with some competition's overhead glass doors, it's a heavy door above your head, and after several hours you hear a lot of rattling. You do not have that with ours. And in fact, they made improvements on our existing folding door on these new models. This is version 2.0, where they have narrowed the side steel frame that goes around it. They improved the ergonomics of the handles. They have improved the location of the crease that goes across the door. When people first talk about Gehl or Manitou's folding door, that seems to be the big hiccup. People are constantly asking about this crease that runs across the door. Well, the fact of the matter is we've done extensive customer research. We've positioned the crease high enough that so anyone that's using the machine, actually using it for work, is going to be looking at their bucket or looking at their attachment, which is all 100% below the crease. If you are roading the machine, traveling down the road, moving it from farm to farm, or plowing snow, you would be looking forward and above the crease. And so one of the biggest obstacles is getting people to accept that. But if a person will operate that loader for 2 days, it becomes something they don't even see, much like you would have someone with bifocal glasses. They don't see a line. After a day or two, it just becomes natural for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's an awesome new feature, because it sounds like, I know a lot of manufacturers, the folding door is really popular with certain guys that have certain tasks where they like to have that door open for the improved visibility. But there's definitely trade-offs with the above head door over the kind of like more, prevalent kind of open out door. So it sounds like you guys have really kind of like found a really good kind of compromise with this door that kind of folds in half right in the middle. What are some of the customer feedback that you've gotten so far?
Oh, they love it. I mean, of our track loaders that leave the factory with an enclosed cab, I would say it's 90% or more go with the folding door anymore.
Yeah.
And that's the problem you have with real innovation, is you're always going to have the naysayers that don't want to adapt to the new idea, even though the new idea, if you ask anyone that owns a Gehl compact track loader and is running with a fold-up door, they're going to have close to no negative comments about it.
Another kind of thing I wanted to talk about here in terms of finding a good compromise is between kind of what operators want and kind of what makes the most sense from a design standpoint are those pilot controls that you mentioned. Tell us a little bit more. You mentioned that you've stuck with pilot controls, and obviously the number of companies that are sticking with these controls, despite the fact that, like you said, the voice of operator is still very much in favor of just the feel and the responsiveness of these pilot controls. A lot of companies are moving to the EH controls for some of the additional benefits. You mentioned that you are sticking with the pilot controls because of that voice of operator. However, these pilot controls they move with the seat, and there's other various kind of things that you have built in.
For sure, and don't get me wrong, EH controls are the future. As we start to look at more autonomous operations, just like you see in the automotive industry with lane deviation and automatic braking, you're going to start to see more of that. You see it right now in some of the manufacturers' EH options. You have your return to dig, you have your bucket kick out, bucket shaker, a lot of EH functionality, which will be beneficial. But for the time being, it seems like most users still really hang on to that comfort of the one-to-one response and getting the feedback through the hydraulic lines of pilot controls, as well as the simplicity of diagnosing a pilot system. Obviously, with technicians becoming harder and harder to come by because of labor shortage, being able to quickly, easily diagnose a pilot system is an attribute that our dealers find attractive. That being said, when we designed our new loaders, we designed it with both systems. So we are EH ready when we want to pull the trigger, but for the time being, we maintain that the pilot system that our customers love, again, patented, moves with the seat, just like your EH manufacturers. And then we will very shortly have a switchable controls, which is another attribute of the EH system that everyone likes. It can go between the H style and the ISO joystick style controls. We will also have a version for our pilot unit. But once again, we're looking to the future. We are set for both control styles when there becomes no other option to maintain what the customers actually like.
Absolutely. So, like, in the meantime, how are you kind of providing some of those? What are kind of some of the engineering details around how you guys are providing both through a pilot system?
We're not currently building both, and I don't know that we would do that, just given the complexity it would create within our factory. I think at some point when the customer demands the features, the return to digs, the bucket kick out, the switchable controls, and some of the other things that come with EH controls. I think at that point, when those demands outweigh the demand for performance, then that would be our key switching point.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
It's just, in the past, we've launched some products with electric hydraulic controls, and it's an interesting statement to me. I've worked at a couple of different manufacturers, and every time that someone is evaluating an EH control system, they're constantly comparing it to a pilot control system. And in my mind, if the pilot control system is your bar that you're trying to measure up to, then you're never going to be quite equal to that bar with EH. So the customer expectation is pilot control responsiveness. The only way to get pilot control responsiveness is with pilot controls.
Yeah.
Right? You can get close with everything else, but
another thing I wanted to talk about, another aspect of these machines that I did want to touch on with the redesign is a new lift arm design. Now these are vertical lift path loaders, the V and the VT series, the CTLs and the skid steers. But tell us a little bit about this new lift arm design.
So a couple different things, and this goes, I've mentioned a few of the things: the floor drain, the roof sloping. A lot of the innovation that Manitou and Gehl company have come out with, it's subtle. It helps the user, but we can't put a big red flag on it that says, this is our new feature. So our lift arm, while it may not be a big red flag as far as product improvement, it has very subtle nuances of innovation in it. The first thing you'll notice is the unique shape. The shape gives it a very cosmetically appealing appearance, but the shape is actually functional in a couple different aspects. A, it slopes down and away from the user. What this results in is a sloped surface that material cannot build up on. So your hay, your silage, your dirt or stone, it won't build up on that lift arm. It flows right off away from the operator. The second benefit of that same slope, and this is patent pending as well, the sloped lift arm slopes away from the operator. So if you look at the very edge of that outer edge of that lift arm, you're gaining about an extra inch, maybe an inch and a quarter of visibility. When you project that down to the ground, you're getting an extra 2 to 3 feet of visibility next to your machine along the sides. This has been very easily recorded in all of our customer driving experiences. Everyone has commented on the visibility. I don't think they even realize that just looking out through the side, you can see over and down around the lift arm much easier than in any of our previous loaders or competition. A couple of other smaller things about the lift arm, they're not patent pending, but the lift arm, we all know that greasing the machine is a daily maintenance point. We talked about serviceability, trying to improve the serviceability on these machines. Repositioning the arm to find grease zerks on the end of cylinders or on hubs or pins has always been kind of a pain. So on these machines, we've gone to greasable pins along the side of the lift arm. So in the morning, you can just walk along the side of both sides of your machine and quickly grease the whole machine, probably cutting your grease time down in half. And then finally, with these machines, we've offered a side light pattern. It's available as LED lights mounted underneath your lift arms. We've chosen to go this route instead of putting it on the cab because of the feedback we've received from certain users where they're loading trucks at night. And when you have your side lights mounted to the cab, all that they're seeing on the side of the machine when they're dumping into the truck is big shadows of the lift arm. And so with our side lights, they move with the lift arm. They always shine where you're working. You can always see what you're doing. So we have added that as an additional enhancement for these lift arms.
Nice. Another big improvement on these is that we were talking earlier about performance improvements. Breakout force has increased by about 12%. Can you tell us a little bit about what you guys have done to kind of find this increase and maybe some of the other performance increases on the machine?
Sure. So one of the big things that has contributed to us having almost class-leading auxiliary hydraulic power, because that's power, or it's pressure times flow, right? That pressure increase also helped us increase our breakout force. So in other words, our system pressure increased, depending on whether you're starting from a skid loader or a track loader of today, from 3,000 to 3,200 psi up to 3,500 psi. Combine that with the new flow, and we achieved some great breakout forces, but then again, also class leading in almost every model, hydraulic auxiliary power. That we did have to do a couple of small changes with that. We did want to increase our cycle times or decrease our cycle times, as I mentioned before. But one of the things we had to do was increase the bore of our lift cylinder so that we didn't have excessively short cycle times for our lift cycle. And then we also did do some geometry optimization, because this was a weight sheet design from the ground up. So we repositioned both the lift and the tilt cylinders to give us a little bit more mechanical advantage and improve that breakout force. So it's a combination of the geometry improvements as well as the pressure increase.
Yeah, awesome. We're kind of coming on to time here, but I do want to talk about the latest machine announcement that you guys have made, and that is the 1950 RT compact track loader. You mentioned really like that the V and the VT series machines, these new ones were really kind of based around the smaller 1650 RT. This new 1950 RT, though, as the name suggests, it's a radial lift machine, just like that 1650. But this is a compact footprint machine. So with almost 2,000 pounds of lift capacity. So tell us a little bit about kind of what makes this machine unique, why you guys decided to go with this more compact footprint, and kind of what the motivation behind designing this machine and releasing it is.
Sure, Wayne. So this kind of fully encapsulates everything that we've talked about, right? So the Gehl history with agriculture, simple machines used for cleaning barns, moving hay, mixing feed. Now you have us as Manitou 2023 launching a powerful V210 or 2100V 7-inch color display where your controls are limited to joystick or H-pattern controls. You have all the bells and whistles. This machine's the biggest cab we've ever built, better visibility. What we found is there's still a market out there for those ag and some residential homeowners, hobby farm enthusiasts, those type of people, where they don't need all the bells and whistles. So again, building off of our 1650 RT being such a wildly popular machine, we said, what can we do to bridge the gap between a 1650 RT and a 2100 VT? And the short answer was we launched something in between based on that most popular selling model, 1650. So on the wheel loader, what we ended up doing is we come out with about a 3-inch longer wheelbase, and then we add some additional counterweight. But essentially, the rest of the platform, with a few other minor changes, is based on our 1650R skid loader. There will be a 1950 RT coming out as a track loader version of it, just because we've gotten such positive feedback on our 1900R Gen 2 machine. So we also have a track loader version of that machine coming. Again, the focus here is to maintain some of our low spec control options, your hand foot, joystick, manual levers, and then also have a machine that meets those customers' needs that don't need all of the technology.
Yeah, absolutely. And I assume that this is still a radial lift machine because of those applications, right? The more ag-focused applications, more lifting and stuff like that, yep. Right?
Just very simple radial lift machine. Just need a tool to do the work. You don't need all the technology. You don't need all the bells and whistles.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Nathan, man, thank you so much for taking us through everything that you guys have going on with inside of Manitou right now, and with the Manitou and Gehl brands. Definitely a really exciting time, not only within your company, but to be manufacturing equipment for the compact segment in general. So yeah, man, thank you so much for taking us through all of that, and we hope to do this again with you some other time, man. Thank you again.
Yep. Thanks for having us, Wayne. We're really happy to meet with you, and more ready to share anything else you have, any other requests for information. So
cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank you again. Have a good one. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up our interview and chat with Nathan Ryan of Manitou North America. Thanks again to Nathan for coming on and taking us through all of these awesome new machines, these new medium frame skid loaders and CTLs. So yeah, if you want more information on those, be sure to check out, obviously, our website, compactequip.com, and search for those new loaders, where you've got a ton of new information on that, and really the whole compact loader segment, skid steers and CTLs, along with all the other news that you would need on compact equipment and the compact equipment segment here in the U.S. and North America. So thank you so much for watching. We always appreciate your time. And if this video was helpful to you at all, do us a favor, hit that like button below, and be sure to subscribe to the channel for more awesome content. Again, visit us for more at compactequip.com. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.